You're listening to the UnderGunned Productions podcast, Indie and Proud, taking home recording to a whole new level. All things cool, gear, beer, production tips and tricks, and a whole lot of other cool shit. Interviews with your favorite members of the UnderGunned team, and some surprise special guests. So sit back and enjoy the podcast.
Hello and good day, y'all. Jeremiah here from UnderGunned Productions, and I would like to welcome you to the first official UnderGunned Productions podcast. That's right, episode number 1. And we're going to call episode number 1, Revving Things Up. So I've been wanting to get my own podcast up and running for quite a few years now, but never really quite had enough free time to fully commit and put myself into it. Over the years, I've helped other people with their podcasts, and I've dabbled a little bit with small podcasts here and there. But recently, I've opened up a lot of free time, and I now am able to commit to this. I will be able to dig in and give it my all, or at least the best I can do. I have several ideas and goals that I want to achieve with this podcast. First, I just want to keep it fun and off the cuff and not too formulated or whatnot. Just going to let it fly. And, of course, I want to be sharing some of the stories of what we're working on here at UnderGunned Productions and interview some of the artists I'm working with and have worked with. But at the same time, I also want to start reaching out and interviewing other indie musicians and indie filmmakers and getting their story and bringing light to their story. Because there's so much great stuff going on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize because they're always focused on the mainstream. But in today's world, the independent music and film scene is doing things that are off the charts. Like, we have bridged the gap between home studio and Hollywood production over the last few years immensely. Part of this is because the cost of good high-end recording equipment has come down so much over the last few years with technical advancements and more companies putting great stuff on the market, but also just because we've realized we can take our creativity and push it as far as we want. We don't need $1 million budget to make a so-called $1 million movie. We don't need $1 million budget to make a so-called $1 million album. And another reason I believe behind this, if you want to call it recording revolution, is everybody is sharing their information, sharing their tips and tricks on how to get a good recording. And the information is all readily available with the internet. So now we are all able to learn from the best of the best. Like, I've been taking mixing lessons for the last few months from Andrew Sheps because he's just shared all his secrets. I'm like, oh my God, this is so great, right? Before, a lot of those engineers and producers and directors would keep everything they knew secret. But now it's all been unleashed, which makes it fair playing field for everybody. And I am excited to be a part of that. And I'm also excited to bring other people into that and just share this huge story with everybody. So hopefully, if this is something you're interested in, this might be a podcast that you will like. And so at first here, I just want to take things slowly and try to get 2 podcasts out a month. That's the goal I've set. This might become a weekly event, but we're just going to go one at a time. Right now, I have a huge list of people who are willing to interview and come on the show. So we're just going to slowly work our way through and learn as we go. And I'm open to suggestions from anybody out there listening. Also, if anybody out there listening would like to be interviewed and share their story with me on the UnderGunned Productions podcast, please contact me and we can get that rolling. So for today's episode, we got a special guest in the house. We got Bob the Legros Show, who's been in the studio all week tracking and retracking guitars for the upcoming REV METER album, Die Trying. And I got Bob to sit down and just talk a little bit about the passion behind the music, a little bit about the recording process, and a little bit about the upcoming REV METER album. But before we get into that, I got a new track from the REV METER album titled Walk On Home.
Gonna get real low down here now, heading southbound down Texas town. Yeah, down there I'm gonna get loaded here, just like this double barrel shotgun here. She's loaded, so I'm thinking about getting in my way now. I'll fill you full of lead.
listening to the UnderGunned Productions podcast.
All right, so that was a little Walk On Home, one of the latest singles off the upcoming REV METER album there. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So right now I got Bob, the Legros Show, next to me, live in the studio here, owner of White Room Studios, the man behind some of my favorite Amongst Anger guitar riffs, and fellow co-writer of mine for over 15 years now. We've been working together on and off on different projects throughout the years, going back to the Hemp Dog days, Amongst Anger days, and little side projects here and there in between. Donald Stumpage project. What about Bob? The list goes on and on, but right now our focus and main attention is on this REV METER album that we've been working on for about 2 years now, but things have just kind of came full circle, and we're really pushing to complete these songs and take the production to the full level. And since I got this podcast rolling and Bob's been in the studio, I'm like, hey, Bob, you got to get on this podcast with me. So huge, warm welcome, Bob, to the studio. Say, hey, Bob.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Jer. Thanks for having me, dude. That's quite the praise there. You named off a couple of band names there that I totally forgot about, which was great. But anyways, we have done a lot of things over the years, Jared, when you think about it. You go right back to it all, it's like, holy cow, man, like whether it's movies or music, but it's always been a passion with us, just to be doing something, I guess, that way.
Yeah, you always have to have a project on the go, and since you finish one project, it's like, oh, what's next?
Yeah, exactly.
We're already thinking about the next album, but I'm like, no, let's just focus on what we have going on now.
God.
Man.
We get so excited about the stuff we're doing too. It's amazing, For me, it's like, okay, Jared, I'm waiting for that email now. Is he gonna send? Oh, there it is. Okay, right on. I get to check something out here after I come by for a stint. It's. So it's a pleasure to be here, really, really. I can't say enough to be, and even like an honor to be on the first podcast. Wow, that's great for me. So, yeah, let's talk some new REV METER shit, I guess, eh?
Yeah, that's what I'm pumped up about right now, especially after last week. They're tracking all those tracks and really getting good guitar tones and just pushing things forward, right? And pushing the mixes up a little bit as I'm going. And
yeah. Even me being here a little bit more too, just to get in with more on some of the writing end of things too. With maybe like today we're going to probably later on touch on some words for a new one, or whatever the case might be. But we're always working towards something that way. For me, it's a blast.
Yeah, I know it's good to have that input because myself, I do a lot of collaborating with people all around the world, right? But you don't have that connection of having them in the studio, right? So you don't quite get that full hands-on approach. Say someone's working on something for you and they're over there, you can tell them what you want but you're not there, right? So you don't really get like a hands-on production and the producing, right? But when you got someone sitting in the same room, there's a bit more magic that's always happening. Just like when we're jamming with everybody in the band or whatever, right? It's like boom, it's that energy's almost twice or 3 times as much as it is when you're sitting isolated by yourself in the studio. So that's always great to go back to that aspect too, even though this new way of working is great. Like, look at some of the drummers we've got on the album now because of this. Like, you know what I mean? Sure, we got some local drummers here, and we got Boom and Stick. He's on quite a few of the songs on the new album, but we got all these other drummers, right? And they're bringing stuff to the table, and we're going to them and reaching out, or whatever the case may be. And it's helping definitely take these songs to a level they wouldn't have got to if we were sticking with programmed drums or whatever the case may be.
I agree. Like the power of the technology these days that's in the hands of everyday guys like us is amazing. And then being able to connect across the world, like you said, just to get all these drummers, like we have to do a shout out for those guys. Like, holy geez, man, like you said, a lot of the times that drum part that they've written for that really takes it to a whole new level. So it's appreciated when you get all these great talent where you normally wouldn't have access to it. You know what I mean? And the tunes turned out really good, like we were talking before. I generally like listening to some of them. It's not like I'm listening to them all the time, but I think if I like it, somebody else is going to like it. That's right.
Yeah,
the feeling I get sometimes.
No, I've been digging them.
Yeah.
And I know just sharing a few with different friends and family or members or whatever, everyone's kind of excited that we got this going on, right? Because really we haven't released anything officially quite a few years since the last Amongst Anger album there, which was kind of just a roundup of all those songs we had on the table at the same time. That's were all kind of the unique little entities. But what I'm digging about this album is the whole album really gels together with each song, and to each song they fit together. It's like I call it, it's not really a concept album, but locks together song to song. There is a common theme there and a common vibe, and it's driving from start to finish. We haven't figured out which order we're going to put the songs yet, which is going to be kind of fun to talk about too.
That'll be fun, yeah.
But
I have to agree. I never really looked at it that way, Jared. But you're right. The from like 1 through to 10, if we're there at the end of it all, it will be solid tunes that gel together really good. And there is a nice, good, common hard rock, vibe there.
Yeah, bit of a signature sound. Each song has its own vibe and flavor, but they flow, man. And it's a lot of our favorite influences kind of coming through there, right? You'll hear a little bit of ZZ Top here and there, and even I've been listening to a ton of Black Label over the last few years, and like a little bit of Zach sneaking in here and there with some of our tones we've been aiming for, and maybe a little bit of the vocal approaches, and then even going back even to some of the older classic rock, right? Like even a little bit of Doors influence in there maybe here and there.
Yeah, exactly. I think, again, if you're a hard rock fan, you're just going to probably put the CD on, or the album on, and you'll find something will be there that'll tickle you, and you'll be like, okay, that was pretty good. Or it's not, right? But
right.
Yeah, but I think there's something there for, if you're a hard rock fan, you're into it. You'll be into it. Guaranteed. And I'm excited about the whole thing, too. Just to get it out to see, not necessarily, like I said, we're not into it for the money. We're into it because this is what we like to do. It's just, it'd be interesting to see if we can get a bite on something here or there, get it in the hands of somebody for like a car commercial or whatever the case might be. Just to see that, because I think there's some potential for a lot of that as well.
Oh, yeah.
With the marketing end of things there.
If we get it into the right hands and ears, I definitely think someone will have something for something out there, right? And like I said, though, you just do it for the love and passion first, and then anything that happens after the fact is just kind of like gravy, right?
Yeah.
And I do think some of these songs will take on a life of their own, and once we get them out there, and it's exciting too. Just got the iTunes thing going up, and it's starting to embrace that, and Spotify, right? It's always been kind of not anti and against any of that stuff, but never really just realized the full potential until recently, right? And I was like, that's the future, man. You got to embrace it. There was always so much fun getting a couple hundred CDs burnt up of our past albums, right? But I hate to say the CDs are almost obsolete now. So it's like, okay, now it's about just getting them on the right websites. And of course, get them on the UnderGunned Productions websites where they'll be available for everybody, right? And
exactly. It really has changed a lot that way. When you think about it, for the individual here in the studio, how you approach it compared to what how we used to approach it now, and now how you're approaching it now, it's pretty.
Just in 10 years, how things have evolved, right? Or say 20 years, but really it's that process of the changing into the digital age in the last 10 years is just like snowballed into this mad. You got to keep up with the times, I guess. Embrace them or be left behind in the dust. It's
exactly.
Much like the technology, right? Like it's for the music, that's been one of our saviors almost, right? Like all these great gear and great plugins now all being a bit more affordable when they first came out for people, right? But now they're really affordable for us, right? And and then me myself now, I'm kind of going back, want to get more analog gear because I'm kind of missing that old school vibe and whatnot, and blending the two together has been my new thing I've been embracing, right? Which is great because now we're going to hear some of that on this new album there, right? And get the analog preamps cranked up and the tube compressors going and the Marshalls and the tube amps, right? But still, half the album sound is these great new plugins, some of which are also trying to emulate that old analog warmth, but mixed with some real analog going in on the front end, right? And, so we can get the best of both worlds, which is kind of nice. With the last few songs before these songs there, it was strictly digital, and I was like, we're kind of missing something there. And then you go back to the Amongst Anger album and the Hemp Dog album, that was all real amps, one take, start to finish, no playing around, right?
Exactly.
And they were raw, and sure they were rough, and I cringe a little bit at some of the production, but looking back on that, that was kind of great in its own way, right?
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
So you got to embrace that too.
Yeah. It seems like all those first 5 songs off that first CD, if we play them now, I can play them no problem. It's like old hat now. It's like, oh yeah, okay. It's like I don't even have to think of it anymore. It's kind of neat.
Oh yeah, those riffs. Well, I think part of that too is back then we were playing live so much that we rehearsed those songs like hundreds of times. Right? That's something we haven't really been pushing with our new songs. We've been writing, recording, moving on, writing, recording, moving on. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, to really embed them into your brain and you got to play the shit out of them, man.
Yeah.
That's that first album. I bet you we played those songs live dozens of times, but then just rehearsing them every week or whatever.
Yeah.
But, and then we didn't think about those songs for several years, right? That's why it's been fun when we have jammed the last few times playing them live and just like, oh yeah, they rock, man.
They were actually way better than you would think. You know, a lot of times you just think, oh, moved on, been there, done that. You never go back to it almost, right? But when you actually learn them again, well, and like I said, not really learn them. I just, for the most part, it's like once I went, oh yeah, oh boy, okay, and then we playing it and we're ripping it up. It's like, you know, second hat, you know what I mean? But yeah, I always really, off that album, I always liked Blunt It Up, because I always thought that was, you know, pretty rocking in your face, you know.
Yeah, that was
good
one
riff.
of my favorites too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's,
good chorus part. I thought, you know, really kind of went through nice, and you know, real kind of anthem part in there, you know what I mean? And it's really, for me, it's got all the elements of what, you know, we were as when we first started out. And you could really hear the wanting to do it. There's a lot of angst there. Maybe hence why we did become amongst anger, you know what I mean? In a lot of ways, you know, because we got heavier. But you could hear in that first album, we're kind of, you know, there's a bit of everything there on those. And there's only 5 songs on it, you know? A little hard rock, a little heavy, little mellow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even a little bit of punk influence.
Yeah, punk influence.
Almost throughout all of them there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I thought it's kind of interesting. You can just, out of 5 songs, how you can see that's where we started. You can see it there. Oh, okay, holy cow, there's the elements right there of what we were doing, almost to what we're doing now, you know what I mean? You can hear it in those very first few 5 songs, although almost 15 years ago now.
Yeah. 2002. That's crazy.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, let's check out Blunt It Up. Hey man, just wanted to say we got a tune here from 2002 called Blunt It Up.
Attitude and reception rules. Do you know I'd smoke for you? Take me down in the tall grass. That's okay. This bud will only infect your brain. Feel the smoke through your lungs. You know this bud's the only one now. Let's all light up to infinity now. Let's all blunt up into insanity. Into insanity now. To infect your pool, Mother Mary, look for clues. Take me down the smoke shack, picking granule like that. If it cuts you in the ass, it'll infect your brain that past. Smoke some dubs and make it last. You know I really like that, no. Let's all light up. Pass the tube around. Let's all light up. Pass the tube around. Pass the tube around. When you're blunted up now. When you're blunted up now. You're so blunted up now. When you're blunted up now. Oh no, you're blunted. Oh no, you're crazy. Oh no, you're stoned. Oh no, you're so all light up. Pass the tube around. Let's all light up. Pass the tube around. Pass the tube around. When you're blunted up now. You're so blunted up now. When you're blunted up now. You're so blunted up now. When you're blunted up now. You're so
UnderGunned Productions Podcast.
All right, all blunted up. That's great, man. It still blows my mind how many years ago that was now. It just seems like not yesterday, but it seems like a couple years ago, not 15 years ago.
Yeah, and I always thought the songwriting was there, you know what I mean? Like when you listen to the tune, you go like, okay, the production wasn't half as good as we would have liked it to have been, but point is the tune itself was pretty good. Like it was well written, I thought.
Yeah,
like,
catchy. It's catchy.
Yeah.
Fun one to play live too. Every time we play live or even just at the jam room, I'm like, yeah, let's play that. And you guys are all like, I'm like, yeah, seriously, man.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. No, good tune for sure. Hey, Jer, just if I say 600 Haybar to you, what does that mean to you?
Well, that brings back a lot of memories. A lot of jams.
Oh, yeah.
And
few beers.
Yeah, a lot of beers.
Yeah.
Doobies.
Yeah.
Whiskeys.
Oh, yeah.
Good times.
Was it fireballs?
Oh, yeah. But the amount of work we actually did at 600 Haybar was off the chart, man. Like our work ethic back then was unheard of. We were rehearsing, twice a week? And then when we were set up to record, we would dig in for 4 or 5 days stretches sometimes. Like our wives were like, again, are you serious? And here we are, like, we were taking it so seriously.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when we got our first computer set up out there, right? The first time we were actually working in the box. And at that point, we still only had a handful of mics. I think we had a couple 58s, a couple 57s, a couple no names.
And the 58s were just beat right up, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, really weathered.
They were from
taking them
days.
to the lodge.
Yeah.
Here, use these mics. How many guys have sang through those microphones, and we get them back. Oh my God.
I know. I remember the first time I opened up one of the capsules, I almost barfed, man. I was
know,
like, so I was like, right on. I didn't realize you could actually open them up and clean out that foaming, right?
Exactly.
So right away, like I said, I realized that. I was just like, wow. So we took those, cleaned the shit out of the best we could. You know, it's funny, some of those 58s are indestructible. Like you still got them out at your jam room, out at the White Room studio now, right?
Yeah.
And they still work, and it's amazing. Those
they took a beating, I'll tell you.
Yeah. But they do 57s and 58s, man. You can, like we proved it, you can record a whole album with those mics, a handful of those mics, and you're good to go, right? So anybody who's just kind of getting their foot in the door and wondering what they should buy for mics, get yourself a 57 and a 58 for starters, because you can use that 58 on vocals. You can use it on a kick drum. The 57 goes on anything. It's still my go-to mic for guitar amps. I know a lot of the big guys are using the same thing. What's the first thing you're throwing on that guitar cab is a 57.
Yeah.
$150 microphone, and like you're up and off and running to the races, eh? And
it gives you the tones you want to hear. That's so it's what they used when they were recording on the stuff that we liked for music. Yeah. So it's kind of hard to throw something else on there sometimes. You want to hear that. I want to hear that tone. Yeah, and that's what we did. I remember you first got your Mesa Boogie, and that was around the time we first started working on the Hemp Dog Disobedient album. And I remember just listening to the thing right away. It was like, oh, wow, I'm still envious. Like, that's probably one of my favorite amps that I've ever got to play through is the Mesa Boogie, just because, you know me, I like a bit more of a metal tone than you're always after, right? And, and for solos, it's just like, wow, that's the go-to amp. Big time, right? And for the last bunch of tracks we've been recording here, we've kind of chained her back down to a more classic rock vibe, and it's kind of fun experimenting with the orange and then some of the lower gain settings I can dial in on the Marshall. But the next heavy song will definitely pull that up. But yeah, we had that rolled in, and then you guys built the booth there. I wasn't there for that. That was a big step at 600 Haybart when we built the booth, and because that kind of we were able to sort of separate ourselves a bit from trying to get a better recording. You know, it was so much fun just doing that.
Oh yeah, going through the motions.
Yeah, like it was just like we were doing it. You know, not only were we writing and we're recording our own tunes, man. Like it was like, fuck the establishment type shit, you know. It's like, we'll do it all ourselves, don't worry, you know. And not that but like you said, we were serious. We wanted to write and record and be recorded, and be like to be reckoned with, a force to be reckoned with. That's what it felt like. And then when you get into the the Seeing Red album, there was like, we were full on, okay, let's fucking rock and roll here.
Yeah, well, at that point we learned a lot from working on the Disobedient album, right? Like a lot of recording tips and techniques and whatnot. We've kind of honed that in a little bit, because at that point we were using N-Track Studio, the DAW, and that DAW still exists. I still have it on one of my old computers, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And didn't really know much about plugins, but we were utilizing the board for that too, right? Like, because my interface at the time only had 8 1/4-inch ins, so we couldn't plug microphones right into it, so we had to run everything into the board, out of the board, into the interface, and then into N-Track. And but that was exciting, right? To be able to put 7 mics or 8 mics on the drum kit for the first time was like
huge.
Yeah, that was a very exciting moment for myself, and I know you guys. And then it was
huge.
like, all right, so we had our 7 mics, we got the best mics, and we did pretty good, man. We were getting a good snare sound. You listen to some of the snare sounds on that old album. We'd always make Wayne, you got to put new skins on this drum kit, man. And so we took that seriously, right? And reskinned them up before recording and
tuned them.
Yeah, that was when we started experimenting with tuning, not really realizing the importance of tuning your kit too.
Yeah,
right?
like huge, you know.
So you kind of got to go through those first albums to really get your teeth into recording, right? And don't expect like miracles to happen overnight, right? But just through trial and error. That's what I'd say to any of these young and up and coming engineer kids who want to get better at recording things. Just do it. Like, don't worry about too much about gear too. Like we're just saying, all you need is a couple 57s and 58s. If that's all you can afford, take what you have and just play with it, and you'll learn actually how to use the equipment you have better by doing that, right? Because even myself, over the years, I've gotten hung up on, I need this plug-in. Oh, and no, I need that new piece of gear, and I need this. Oh, I need a new guitar. But really, you want that. You don't need that, right? So
I'm a bit of a gearhead, but I get it, dude. I get it.
Don't get wrapped up on the gearhead thing too much, but it is fun. And when you work hard at your day job or whatever, it is nice to reward yourself with a new piece of gear too. Like that's what's kept me going over the years, right? It's but no, so we took all that, and then at the end of that, like we're going to get into Seeing Red here, and to Disobedient, we had that, and we released it, and a lot of people actually were pretty stoked, and we were stoked, right? And we went and did quite a few gigs after that, right? Like we went down to Cranbrook, and some of the guys down in Cranbrook are still talking about some of the songs off of that album.
I know, it's amazing when you think about it. It's like, wow, that was a long time ago, but
got to open for Dayglows and played some of the songs off that album for the fucking Dayglows, which was kind of nice. Dayglow Abortions there. That was one of our highlights there in our musical career. Like, right. Yeah. I think Wayne set that one up when he was doing Sound at the Lodge right there. And
amazing, eh?
Yeah.
And this all came from just, 600 Haybart.
Yeah, we used to rehearse Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And we always did have, like, the cameras out, too. So when we were checking things out, or, we're writing, recording, or just doing our thing, a lot of times we had the video camera out. It's amazing how much footage we actually...
Yeah, there's a lot there. Like I said, one day we'll eventually have to piece all that together and put a 600 Haybart documentary together, or Hemp Dog documentary, or whatever, just a flashback documentary. And it's been now going back, we started jamming there, 2001-ish, all the way till when you bought the White Room studio there. So
so we're looking...
That was over a decade of... So you couldn't even count the jams there, man. Hundreds, eh? That's what we really honed. That's when I honed my chops in, because I was still fairly young when I started going out there, right? Like 22, 23.
Yep.
Ish, 24, say. And, And I remember watching Wayne... back when I was 19 and his band playing at the bar, right? And not even realizing there, like I got to meet those guys fairly young when I was 19, going to open jams, him, Joe, Kevin, or whatever, eh? And I never realized what they had out there until eventually I met you, and then everyone's like, oh, come on out. And that's when Joe and Kevin moved away and Wayne was looking to get something new going, eh? And so that opened up that whole aspect. I was like, oh, this is great, man.
Yeah, I'll never forget that, dude. Yeah. I'll never forget that. That's like you said, when Kevin finally left there, we, it was like, now it's us. It's our band now. That's what it felt like to me. But with Wade, he was always the guy that was pushing, okay, we got to do this, we got to do that. Like, for example, like I'll never forget, when we first got there, we're just playing cover tunes. And Kevin's gone maybe 2 weeks, and I'm butchering all these fucking cover tunes, trying to play them as best I can, and we're doing our thing, and then sure enough, Wayne's okay. I'm booking us a gig here next weekend at the Lodge. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me, man? Like, we can't even bust these tunes together, man. Come on. But sure as shit, he was like, "No, we're doing it." No, it's like I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." Then the pressure was on. It's like, okay, and then it was almost like, okay, step up to the plate, or you're never going to step up, right? So it was he was a good instigator that way, it's amazing. He's been on a lot of our tunes, you know, Boom and Stick.
Oh yeah, just going back to 600 Haybart days. There was times where he was loving the recording end of things, and there was times where we kind of see we'd pushed him a little too far. But we forced him into probably 50 to 60 tracks, if not more. Really, some of the tracks never came to see the light of day.
No, wicked to go back and even just think about those times at 600 Haybart and the albums that we did there. Of course, we did the Hemp Dog first one, you know, the very first one. Disobedient was done there. Seeing Red was done there, and a lot of those tunes for Roaches and Gunpowder were kind of pre there.
Yeah, a lot of the drums for that were recorded there, believe it or not. Yeah. Not all of them, but Area 55 we recorded there.
Right.
Another one, one of my favorites there was the Tribal Affair, and that was just Wayne off the cuff. I had a rough idea there, and that's when he was in the little booth there. We had the drums in the little booth rather than using it as a control room at that point.
Right.
And that day, there were certain days like we'd go out there and it would just be, okay, we're going to get as many drums out as we can out as a Wayne, right? And then some days it would be 2 or 3 songs because he'd only give you 3 takes of each track, and then we're moving on, right? So you'd hope in one of those moments, those 3 takes, you had one that was like, But that was another one that we did there that turned out phenomenal. And then we ended up having Metal Man mix that, and he did a little slate drum trigger, and Wayne was, oh, those are my drums. I'm like, yeah, it's your performance and it's your drums, but there's a little thickness added in, right? So that's what we were able to take some of those older drum takes and step them up a notch.
Right.
Trying to think, another one, the drums were done there for Super Thrill. And phenomenal again.
Yeah, right? Great tune. Yeah, Metal Man in on that one. And
like I said, it'd be hard to count. I bet you over 100 songs really over the years with like some of the demos. Like think how many times we retracked Sunshine. I think we recorded that one 3 times from start to finish.
The very first song there from Roaches and Gunpowder, the
Sweet Dealer.
Sweet Dealer.
Yeah, those drums. That one actually, Redneck was around when we recorded that, if you can believe that. So that's going back to Disobedient, right at the end of Disobedient.
Wow.
And like I said, you forget about some of those tracks sometimes. Yeah. And then I'm always kind of going back, organizing my hard drives and whatnot. I was like, let's have a listen to that. And I'm like, you know what? That's got some goddamn potential, right? And then, so we just retracked everything to those drums. I did a few little edits and whatnot. And we messed with the arrangement a bit. And then boom, all of a sudden, some drums that had been sitting on a hard drive collecting dust for 2-3 years, if not more. Boom! All of a sudden, they're seeing the light of day. Right?
It turns out to be this ultimate biker song. Yeah, I was like, holy
one
fuck.
of my favorite off the album.
Yeah, I want to grab a. I don't even ride Harleys, but fuck, after listening to that, I wanted to get a Harley, man. Just fucking listen to that in the headphones and drive a Harley. Yeah.
Yeah. It was definitely a groovy tune, man. Groovy tune.
Yeah, but
that last like Seeing Red was great, right? Like that was like I always say that's one of my favorites, just because we brought the rock, you brought the hard rock there, right? Like at that point, I think I had you listen to a little bit of Pantera. And
exactly.
Listen to this, Bob. Check out Disturbed. Have you heard these guys, right? Yeah, it reflected in your riffs, man, because all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Like, every one of those tracks is hard rock with a little bit of metal, right? I can't say there was any classic rock on those 10 songs, which was kind of exciting. And at one point, we were playing those songs live, almost note for note, giving them their all, which was really a challenge for all of us to be able to push and take it to that level, right?
Yeah, because the tunes weren't just straightforward, there was a little bit more to them.
Intricate arrangements and the riffs guitar solos were guitar solos, I know. I hate to say this, but I don't even think I could play any one of them note for note. Now I'd have to go back and do my homework. And how did I do that again? And they come back to you, right? But you're going to be brushing off a lot of dust to get that back up to that point. Like I said, again, because we were playing 2 or 3 times a week, it was we were on our A game more so than now. I'm more of a studio mindset over the last few years, right? But back then we were rolling. So we did pound that out, and then we were the recording actually slowed down a little bit near the end there. That's when you guys started working a lot more out on the highway projects and whatnot. And but we did still get in on a recording session again. At this point, I think we'd kind of started moving over to your new place, White Room Studios there.
There was a whole new batch of stuff from that.
And we did a little bit of experimenting out there with the drum sounds and got Wayne on some drums, and then that's when we slowly started building towards the Roaches and Gunpowder album, right? And
I think, isn't Best Times recorded acoustically? I remember we got the film footage for that. Yeah,
that was all White Room, and that's when JP rolled into the picture. It was a very cool little chapter in the story, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, JP. Yeah, good old JP. He sure helped us feel good about everything again. Like, somebody else to kind of have their producer influence a bit, and he actually had some, merit. He was good. He was good at it. I was like, oh, geez, hey, like he's not too freaking bad at it.
Yeah.
So that really helped.
Yeah, because at that point, too, we kind of lost sense of direction a little bit. Like, we're just having fun, and that's what we always want to do, right?
Yeah.
But everybody kind of had different things they wanted to work on, and that's why that album's kind of a little left field, or a little bit of everything out on that one there, kind of just. But it was fun, like doing some acoustic songs and doing some psychedelic, like I said, Tribal Affairs, way left field, right? And then you got Best Times thrown in the bunch there. Then there's a couple good rockers on there, right? Like we were talking about Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll earlier. That's badass. And and then you brought out some Sex on the Beach there. That was crazy. And that was another cool chapter, too. We had Phil Metalman roll into town on that one, right? And so we're like getting these people from all around the world coming into our sessions now, bringing their years of experience, which was great, right? Like,
amazing.
Yeah, it was great when Phil was down, because we had him in here the one day, and he did that great slide solo, kind of Allman Brothers thing there, right? Using the Dean.
Yeah.
And then I did my solo here the same day, and it was kind of nice to have him produce and say, oh, no, that's it. You got it, right? And then we did the whole bongo shaker sesh thing, and then that same day or the next day we go back out to your place.
Yeah, and I put the guitar solo on.
Yeah, you did your solo, and you did your vocals or whatever, right? And then with JP, it was the same thing there. He just kind of sat back a little bit at first, but then once he realized, oh, these guys don't mind me, give him a little direction. He stepped up, and like I said, having these other people with all their years of experience there is a huge help. Like,
he had a lot more handle too on the PA when it came to getting a good sound. Like, you could tell he's done a PA, like a professional PA before, because boom, and next thing you know, I'm going, holy fuck, I said, that's the best we've sounded in years. Where the fuck you been, man?
Yeah, having him as a sound guy and a producer.
Yeah, it's like, shit. It makes a big difference. But I'm more excited right now, like you said, about the new stuff, the new Rev Meter stuff that we're doing. For me, it's really, like you said, a real cohesive, a bunch of tunes that are going to really, I think, going to rock, man. And that's why it's pretty exciting now with this, like you said, this new album, Die Trying is really a cohesive, probably our best cohesive album of the bunch, It's really, like you said, from start to finish. When you listen to, Doobie Mountain, the guitars, the performance, the song, it's all there, so it's wicked. It's a lot of fun to come now to compare to where we were before with all the production and things now, and you come now and you bring a tune to the table. It's like, whoa, night and day. But, Doobie Mountain. And we just listened to Blunt It Up. There's a common thread there, isn't there?
Yeah, the chronic factor.
Yeah, that ain't cool, I guess.
I rarely even puff anymore, but it's still, I have no problem getting down on a chronic track, that's for sure, man. It's
too funny.
It's definitely, the whole party element, right? Like Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. But when you're writing a rock and roll song, they go so hand in hand, it's hard not to, like, just go there, man. It's funny, but at the same time, it's, And then when you're listening to, like, those feel-good party kind of carefree songs, they make you feel good. Like, you crank one up on the weekend, man, and it's like, you worked hard all week, and on Friday, you slam in whatever you're listening to, and if it's got that vibe, instantly, you're feeling good, even before you get to the party, you know what I mean?
I agree. The music, I definitely feel like when you listen to Roaches and Gunpowder, that's where, Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, and it says it all. Like that tune says it all. If you just listen to it, it's got the vibe, it's got the the whole deal. Yeah. And then you listen to it, it's like you're hard not to want to feel good. It's amazing what a good tune will do, just to pump you up. Yeah. And I think a lot of these tunes on this Rev Meter album here really does do that, and it's cohesive from beginning to end. All killer, no filler, man. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. It took a bit of work and a bit of like kind of playing around with everything to get there, right? And a few retakes and re-recording. And just like I said, when we made you redo the guitars for Doobie Mountain there, I'm like, you know what, Bob? We got the new drums on it now because we tracked around the click and the program drums at the first there. And then...
and who put the drums on that again, Jared?
That's Alex M.
Oh, because that dude rocks.
Yeah,
man.
he's the same guy who hit the drums on Rocksteady there, right? And anyone who got to check out the Rocksteady tracking video, you can see him in action yet. And he's got the vibe and the performance, and his drums are so well recorded, which makes it nice too. You just drop them in. Of course, I do a little bit of this and that, but
yeah, he really knows what he's doing. He's got the chops too.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. So like I said, now you're retracking to his drums. You're gonna be more in the groove, just like I retract the bass there, right? And anybody who wants to check this out, you can check out, we put together a tracking video for Doobie Mountain there on YouTube, and you can check that out and get a little look at behind the scenes, and we show how Bob had his amp dialed in and a little bit of the behind the scenes picture into the box tracking video for everybody there. And
yeah, you can always check out Rocksteady as well. You can check out Alex.
Yeah, we did a tracking video for that one too.
And you'll get to see Alex M and performing, doing his thing, man. Kid's awesome. Yeah. So big shout out to that kid, man.
That makes it exciting, right? Like if you're just taking it and pushing it, and then someone else pushes a little harder, so now you got to go back and sometimes retrack and push a little harder. And,
because it's like, oh, good performance, kid, you know.
Well, that's kind of something I learned from over the years, rather than like rushing. Because I've tried to speed up my production workflow so you can get from point A to point B quickly, but you don't want to rush things to the point where you might be sacrificing the full potential of a song just so you can finish it quickly, right?
Yeah.
So I've definitely learned to be a bit more patient over the last few years and just slow down and take a couple weeks to listen to something you've recorded, and then, okay, you know what, we could do that better or that better. And then sometimes you got to be honest with yourself too, because you always think you can do something better, but at the same time it's like, oh no, I know I can do that better, so take the time to do it better, right? And I find now too, when I'm mixing, if I'm struggling with a bass tone or something in a mix, sometimes it's easier just to go retrack and get it right on your way in than trying to re-EQ something or fix something after the fact. And that's why Walk On Home turned out so great, because I made sure everything going into the track was recorded just perfectly, right? And it took a lot of playing around with the mics or whatever. Like we had you over here, and we had you running through the Marshall that day, right? And we spent probably a good half hour to an hour making sure the tone was good and you were happy with the tone before we started tracking. And then when we started tracking, I probably made you do 8 takes that day or something crazy, right?
Which is always never a hassle. It's always fun to do those 8 takes, because even yourself, you want to get it perfect. So it's like, no, how many times do I stop? Just, Jer, sorry, dude, but that's just not perfect. I got to do it again. So I get it. Yeah.
And in the end, I think that track had takes that there was a couple from start to finish. And then when I did my guitar part, I aimed for that too.
Yeah.
And I did pull off 2 there. And the one I actually had my solos. I'm like, oh, I nailed the solos and my rhythm takes in one take, which is very rare for me, right? But
sorry, dude.
Whose fucking ringtone's that?
Yeah, that's it's a text message, but I'm not going to take it because I'm on, I'm in the studio on a podcast and I can't do that. That would be rude. So, but yeah, I again, just talking about like how good it sounds, Walk On Home, when you listen to it, it does make a difference to take that time to make sure everything's good to go in perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like we were talking to about going back and doing, Doobie Mountain. It's like, the guitar tones now just didn't really happen for me now. And it was like, the performance could be even better because the drums were so killer. It's like, okay, let's put it all together now, And I'm glad we did it. It was a lot of fun. So it's like you can really rip on it and be tight with those cool drums, it's like perfect.
Yeah, it's like being rehearsed too. Like you played it, you've listened to it now, and it's demo stage, and then you go back and you give it that final boom, right? Yeah. And bring it to life, take it to the next level there. No, it turned out great, man. I say we roll that tune for the listeners next here.
I think we fucking rock that fucking shit out, man. Let's hear it.
All right, some Doobie Mountain coming at ya.
You know I'm gonna climb that mountain one day. Right to the top. And if I don't make it, I'm gonna die trying. I thought my way back down into the death valley. I still got a bit of unfair business to do that. I climbed my way up to the top of Mount Doobie. That's where I lost all control. And I got my head up in the clouds, and so I can't even sit down. I
guys, fucking Bubbles here. I gotta tell you about this great new fucking Canadian band I heard today called REV METER. These guys are fucking decent. I've been blazing the shit out of their new tracks around the park. Check this shit out.
Hey, Bubbles, turn that shit down. We're trying to sleep.
Good hard rock and roll, like the old days, eh? These guys are keeping it real with that old school classic rock vibe. With songs like Tequila, Rock Steady, and Doobie Mountain. You know these fucking boys know how to party. Hard. And they're from BC, too. So they must smoke a shitload of the BC bud. To be able to write fucking songs this great, eh? Can't fucking wait for the boys to get out of jail and get to hear them. We're gonna fucking head out to BC and see them live and smoke some of that BC bud with them. But it'll be fucking worth it. You can check them out on the UnderGunned Productions YouTube channel. REV METER. Fucking decent.
Yeah, I really like that decent at the end.
Yeah, no, Bubbles is the best, man. Those guys rock.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Bob. Well, this has been great having you on and going back and reflecting back on our history and the history of all the music we've worked on there. It's not where I expected this podcast to go, but that's great. Like I said, I just want this podcast to be not scripted or not overthought. Just
Right.
Go where the conversation takes you, right? And down memory lane it went.
It was, even I was, the more you talk about a few things, you start remembering some other, incidents, and yeah, it could really be a long podcast. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think we went over my little anticipated timelines. Like I said, no rules, man. Whatever goes.
Yeah.
It just flies and takes on a life of its own sometimes when you're talking about music. Like we could continue here for another 2 hours easily, right?
Like I said, but we got lots of other podcasts.
Yeah, that's what we said. I'm going to get you back on the show here in a couple months or whatever works for you here. I bet you I'm going to get set up, so I'll be able to start interviewing people over the phone there. So if you're out of town or whatever, I'll get you on the phone there, and we'll officially release the CD or album here coming up in a couple months there. We'll definitely have to get you back on and reflect that way there. And
yeah, that'd be wicked.
Yeah.
And there is, like you said, we're still not quite done. We got maybe a couple more tunes that we can throw on this new album, and it's, some late, late gamers here, but there's, some kind of fresh stuff out of the can.
Oh yeah, those 2 other tracks we did lay down last week there, that's definitely the next step here. Like I said, this afternoon, getting back in the vocal booth there and see if we can get some lyrics and melodies happening on that one there. And looking for a drummer for this new track. Any drummers out there listening want to get in on her? It's Drop B, it's groovy. We're calling it B-Bomb for right now, working title. The B-Bomb. Because it's going to be bad and it's going to be bomb.
It's going to be dropped on your head.
The Bad Bob B-Bomb song. Yeah. So yeah, that was great, Bob. Much appreciated. Also want to give a huge thanks to all you listeners who've actually made it this far in the podcast there and stuck it out with our crazy conversation and flashback. Some of you guys might not know nothing about Hemp Dog or Amongst Anger or me and Bob's history as musicians, but now you do. And we're going to have some of the new remastered mixes of all the old Hemp Dog and Amongst Anger. Slowly trickle some of that out onto YouTube, and of course you can check a lot of that out at UnderGunnedProductions.com. So but we kind of had to just touch on that because that is a big part of behind the whole REV METER, right? Just the evolution, how we got to where we are today, and it's nice to kind of connect the dots, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because we did start somewhere. Yeah, but today where REV METER is now, yeah, we did have a whole other history. It was like a blast. Yeah,
back when we were young and crazy. Now we're a little more civil, but we're still giving her.
Yeah.
But yes, thanks to all you guys for listening to this whole podcast. And also want to give a big shout out to my buddy John the Hammer for the voiceover he provided here. That was great there. We're getting the podcast up and running, John. And he got back to me a couple hours later with those little interludes and the intro. And we're like, yes. And
it's like perfect.
Yeah, John's a good friend of mine and a phenomenal drummer. We've been working together for about 3-4 years now, on and off. And if anyone's checked out the Mind Tangle project, he was a huge part of that project there. So thank you, John. Much appreciated. We're going to get John on an upcoming episode here and dig into his mind and talk a little bit about voiceover, because John's an amazing voiceover artist as well as an amazing drummer. And also just a good shout out to all the drummers and everyone who's helped with the whole REV METER album there. Huge thanks again to all you guys. You know who you are, and helping take things to the next level. And we're always looking for new members to help get involved with the UnderGunned team here and everything we're working on. We always have way too much on the go, but that's just the way we roll here.
Yeah.
So anybody out there, feel free to contact us. If anyone wants to be interviewed on this podcast, feel free to contact me, and we'd love to hear everybody else's story out there and be able to share in your story with other people. That's the whole point of this podcast, is sharing our stories. All right, so thanks to all you guys, and thanks to you again, Bob. And we're going to leave off with one more Rev Meter track here. What do you want to end the show with?
Thanks, Jeff, for having me here. I just wanted to say, it's been a blast. I want to hear Undecided. I think that's one of the tracks I had the most fun doing in the studio. So here it is, Undecided.
Head down, back up in the house, motherfuckers! Walk 1,000 miles in your shoes and you won't even look at me. Up and down all day long with your blues, keep on stringing me. Well, I've been running around all over this town, but everywhere I turn to dead end. It's just a matter of time now before I compromise my only intention. You caught your way under my skin. You found your way into my head again. You crawled your way under my skin. I don't even know where to begin. Outside of my head, outside I can see this. Outside of my head, I believe this. Outside of my head, outside I can feel this. Outside of my head, I don't need this. So undecided, I feel so uninvited. Yeah, undecided. Been walking for 1,000 days and you won't even listen. Banging all day long on your door and you won't even let me in. Driving down this road before you know it, everything still seems so foreign. It's just a matter of time now before I perfect perfection. You caught your way in under my skin. You found your way into my head again. You crawled your way in under my skin. I don't need so undecided.
You're listening to the UnderGunned Productions podcast.